back to Build with Philippa. Today I'm going to be talking about reasons why God may be silent in this season. So I'm just going to get straight to the point, right? We all have these moments in our lives where we feel like God is not talking. Um, I think we all go through silent seasons in our lives. And we're wondering what is going on in this season. Why is it that God is not talking to me? Why is it that I feel like I'm praying to Him, I feel like I'm talking to Him, but He's not talking to me back? These are the reasons why. These are the reasons why God may not be talking in this season. The One of the things that I have on here is that there is nothing that God does unintentionally. So I want us to know the kind of God that we serve, right? And we have to understand that we serve a God who is intentional, a God who does not sleep or slumber. So when He's not talking and He's silent, He knows that He's silent in your life. There's nothing that's going on in your life that's just passing by and God is not watching or He doesn't know. When the Israelites were in Egypt for the many years that they were in Egypt and they were going through what they were going through in the hands of Pharaoh, God knew the Israelites were going through slavery. He knew that all of that was going on, but He wasn't talking to them during that season till what had to pass in that season came to pass. Excuse me. Then God spoke, and then the Israelites cried to God, and it said in the Bible that God heard their cry, and He answered. Then He decided, you know what? Now I'm gonna move this type of way. So, just to start off, God does not do anything unintentionally, and whatever that He's doing, if He's silent, whether He's talking, He knows what's going on. God knows it. God sees you, and that He is faithful. Another story is the story of Haggai with Abraham and Sarah. And Sarah at the time. and Sarah at the time. So Haggai has been going through just mistreatments at the hands of Sarah. During all those times, those years, things were going on. She didn't even think that, because she knew that God had already given Abraham his wife a promise. I'm pretty sure she didn't see herself as part of that promise. However, when Sarah sent her out, she's in the wilderness. God meets her in the wilderness, and then she's like, "Oh, it's like the things that God told her." God was like, I've seen everything that you've gone through," and He tells her like the future of her son. And Haggai calls God El Roi, which literally means you are a seeing God. So He sees you, He knows it, He understands. You know what I'm saying? He understands. Another reason why God may be silent in this season to you is because you're too distracted. See, the Holy Spirit is not going to try to compete with all the noises in the world. We live in a social media world right now, and at every moment, every single advert that you see on TV is taking part of your attention away. Any conversation that you engage in during the day, it pulls part of your attention. And so when everything else in your life is so loud, God is not going to compete with the voice. He's not going to compete with the voices that are in your life. He's going to wait till you calm down. He's going to wait till you become silent. There's something that I said in, I think, one of the previous episodes last year. And I was saying that God is always talking to us. But hearing Him, our ability to understand, hear what He's saying is contingent on whether everything in us is silent and only His voice can be heard. It is contingent on us being an environment that is conducive to the Spirit of God. And most times, the truth is, in our generation, most times we're not, because there's so many things going on. Like, so many things going on in people's lives. Like, everybody and everything is talking. So that's what I have on here. And the next step is that the reason that God may be silent in this season is because you're in a testing stage. And an example is Job. In scriptures, we see that Job goes through all this trial. But prior to this trial, we know that Satan, uh, Satan is having this conversation about, and God is literally asking Satan, like, have you considered my servant Job? And Satan protested and he told God, he's like, you've given Job everything that a man could be good if they have. So the only reason why Job serves you right now is because of all the good things that's in his life. Satan said, oh, I'm going to take this away from him. I'm going to take that away from him. And as I take those things away from him, watch to see if this man don't stop serving you. Well, we know that later in the story that Job does not fall for all the things that fell out of his life, right? But another thing that no, I haven't really heard the perspective on is that when this conversation is going on in the courtroom of the heavens, Job is not present. Job is not recorded in scriptures that Job get a dream or anything happens where Job become very aware that this conversation is going on about him, that he's about to go into trial. And this trial is, God has literally instructed the devil do not touch his life. He literally said, must we only enjoy the good things in life and not the bad? He has no idea what's going on. Everybody in his life is telling him, curse God. Like, you're going through too much, curse God. And this man is like, no. The man was so poetic. He's like, no, I'm not cursing God. So, most times in our silent season, right, especially when we know we have been doing everything right, especially when we know that we have been faithful in our worship, in our serving of God, and we've been praying, and we've been surrendering our hearts to God, and we've been worshiping Him, and we have been reading scriptures, we've been feeding ourselves, and we're at His feet every time. But somehow, trials are not skipping our lives. We have to understand that the trials that is coming in our lives is not coming. That God is not blind to it. You know what I'm saying? That we may be in a testing season in our lives. Job's faith is tested because the devil wanted to tempt him. So I want you to kind of get that distinction that God does not tempt us, but Job, his faith is tested though. If God is his stronghold, in this moment it is tested. In this moment it is tested. The thing about this is that I know it's very difficult, right? Especially when you've been faithful to God and you're going through all of this. But you have to understand that, especially like what Job said, but you have to understand that you must want God. I'm sorry. You must want God more than you want the good things in life. When you're going through sorry guys, I'm sick. When you're going through these seasons in your life, right? And you may not experience the season one time. You may experience it multiple times in your life. But when you're going through this season, you have to, and you've done everything right. In that moment, you have to really stand strong in your faith. You gotta want God more than you want anything out of this life. You have to literally see that He is God. Like God coming back when He was ready to speak to Job, and He's telling Job, when I was making the earth, when I was measuring, were you there? The animals in the sea, like, did you make them? During those moments, we must force ourselves. We must pray to God, pray to the Holy Spirit to help us see God and help us want God more than we want our freedom. Because in those seasons, God is the only one that can sustain you. Because if you're not careful, the trial will make you curse God. And there's a lot of people that has done that. Not because they were doing anything particularly wrong, but their faith got tested. And because their faith got tested, they left the feet of God. And lastly, you disobeyed Him. Lastly, you may be going through what you're going through because you disobeyed God. And I have Abraham's story, Abraham and Sarah's story as an example. So Abraham and Sarah, God promised you Abraham that he's gonna make you the fathers of all nations. He says that out of you will come all nations in the world, right? But time has gone by, years and years has passed, decades, a decade and change has passed, and you still have not seen God. You still have not received the promise that He gave to you. A man being man, think in this moment that he could help God be God. You see that? Man being man, think in this moment that he can help God be God. So what does Sarah do? She recommended her servant Haggai to sleep with to sleep with her husband, because in this moment he's like, God, I'm not seeing this. You said this is gonna come out of us, but look, my skin is wrinkled. Like, this womb is old. Like, so much is going on. I am not seeing this promise. She thinks she's helping God accomplish it. It's not just because she's selfish and she just wants that baby. She thinks God has said this. I might as well make it happen. And Abraham, being her husband, he agrees to it. He sleeps with he sleeps with Sarah's servant. They make they make a baby. Um, and after they make the baby, God stops talking to Abraham. In scriptures, it is recorded that the distance, the words not the distance, like, but the amount of time that it took for us to hear God or see God in scriptures talking to Abraham again was after 13 years. And when God came back to talk to Abraham, he didn't talk about a new thing that he was going to do in the lives of Abraham. And that's where it's at. When he came, he talked about the same promise that he had given Abraham before, that Abraham had went his own way and disobeyed him. And so sometimes the reason why we're not seeing or we're not hearing the voice of God, right, is because we have literally disobeyed him. And in that moment, he may be wanting to teach us like a valuable lesson. He may be teaching us to wait on the Lord, to believe the Lord, to have faith on the Lord, to be patient with the Lord, to let the Lord do his own thing. Because when God is not moving, he is moving. And that's something that we all have to understand. That when it comes to the life of faith, right, the life of believers, we must understand that when God is not moving, he's moving. Don't be so addicted to the result that you want out your life you don't care about who you're becoming in the process, because in that waiting time, he is making somebody in the process. And if you really want God, right, more than you want the result, if you really want God more than you want the result, then you will wait. The story of what's the lady's name? What's Samuel's mom? So Samuel's mom, this lady, she weighs Hannah. Sorry. So Hannah, she waits on the Lord. Every year she's going with her husband to go to the temple to pray, offer sacrifices, and she's telling God, I want a child, Lord, I want a child, Lord, I want a child. Year after year. When she finally stopped going to the feet of God as she wanted a child, that's when she got the confirmation that, you know what, God is like, the prophet there, Eli, he's like, as you want, so shall it be done for you. Right after that moment, she went home. When she had a child, this lady, she took the child that she'd been praying for years. She took that child to serve at the temple. That means it was something that God was doing inside of her. That in a moment where she didn't want a child anymore, no, not that she didn't want a child anymore, in the moment that she'd be willing to, the only reason that she offers to give God the child that she'd been craving, that she'd been wanting to deliver her out of her shame of being a woman at that time, She gives that child up because that thing had died inside of her. That desire had died, and who she wanted was God more than the child. She sees God. She sees. Sorry, there's a dimension of God that she sees that she don't even. You can have the child, Lord. You giving it to me, but you can have it. Same thing with Abraham. You give me Isaac, but you said sacrifice Isaac. I'll sacrifice him willingly. Um, her, God didn't even ask her. Hannah decided to sacrifice her own child. So that's it. That's it, y'all. I really just wanted to put it out here because I know a lot of people, a lot of us were in a waiting season. And in this waiting season, um, I just want to say that want God more than the thing or the result that you want out your life. Literally want Him more. Because if you gain the results that you want out your life and you have not wanted Him more, what is it? How beneficial is it if you gain the whole world but then lost your soul? So until next time, y'all have a good day, family. I hope this week is treating you well. Like, subscribe, and comment on this video. Send it to whoever that you think may be in a waiting season and may want to hear this. Bye, y'all.